Janesville. Welcome to Park Place Views, brought to you by the City of Janesville and JATVMedia Services. I'm Molly Nolte, and I'm the Management Information Specialist in the City Manager's Office. This monthly program aims to keep Janesville residents informed by highlighting the people, places, events, and partners in the City of Janesville. On last month's episode, we talked with Janesville City Council President Doug Markline about his involvement with City Council and the Janesville community. Today, we'll be catching up with the Chief of Janesville Fire Department, Randy Banker. Chief Banker was appointed to the position of Fire Chief on January 5th, 2016. He's originally from Edgerton, but began his career in fire service with the Geneva, Illinois Fire Department in 1984. In 1988, he was hired by the Batavia, Illinois Fire Department, where he climbed the ranks to become Deputy Fire Chief. Randy holds a bachelor's degree in fire science from Columbia Southern University in Orange Beach, Alabama. He also holds several fire and emergency medical certifications. Thank you for joining us today, Chief Banker.
Thank you for having me.
Now, you've had a career in the fire service since 1984. Why did you choose a career in fire protection?
Actually, I don't know if I chose it. I think it chose me, to be honest with you. Story goes back, my high school baseball coach was a part-time firefighter, and I was going to play baseball and after I got out of high school, and he said, why don't you try joining the department as a paid-on-call or part-time firefighter, and I did it, and basically the moment I walked in the fire station, I fell in love at every aspect of it. So I think it sort of grabbed me and took me to where I am today. So
that's great.
Yeah, it was fun.
That's an interesting story. I never knew that. Janesville is growing more every day. How busy is the fire department, and are paramedics and firefighters responding to more calls this year than they were last year?
Yeah, last year we had 10,218 calls, and this year, as of this morning, we're tracking about 200 calls above that. So yeah, our calls for service are increasing every year since I've been here, and the biggest demand we see right now is EMS, even though our reported fires are up also about 3.5% as well, which we're averaging about a fire and a half a week. So that's gone up, EMS calls have gone up, and our responses to automobile accidents as well.
Do you know why the call volume might be increasing as much as it is?
Well, there's a couple things, in my opinion. One, the community's growing. Just the traffic alone around the area seems to be far more congested, and so the community's growing, a lot of new businesses, a lot of exciting things going on, so there's more attention. So we have more people visiting, more people working. The other thing is, when I first came here, I reviewed health assessments of the county, and unfortunately, this is an unhealthy county. There's some areas we exceed the national average, some areas we exceed the state and national average from diabetes, cardiac situations, teenage pregnancy, smoking, drinking, suicide. So unfortunately, we're not a very healthy county, and so that all is impacted in with what we do. Somebody's got a diabetic problem, they're going to diabetes ties into cardiac problems, and it ties into weight problems, and it ties into other things. So unfortunately, we're an unhealthy county, so that contributes a lot to it. The growth of the community, like I said, those things I think are just enough in themselves. Plus you throw in the fact that the country itself is aging. The baby boomers are getting older, so we have an older community. Our largest generation of population is getting older. So that's why you're going to probably see more senior centers and nursing homes and those type of facilities come up. We've already had 2 additional since I've been here, so that's the trend.
Okay. So as the call volumes go up, how do you see your personnel adapting to this increased call volume? And in addition to that, what do you see are the most common types of responses?
Right. Well, trying to adapt to that is just trying to be able to have enough people to handle all the calls that we have in a day. One of the things we have on a regular basis, I call it clustering, but we get a lot of times during a day where we'll have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 calls in a matter of a few minutes. Right now, we only have 4 staffed paramedic ambulances in the whole community. So it doesn't take long for us to get overwhelmed. But fortunately, through the city manager's office and through the state, we got some state funding to help us offset that problem, which gave us 3 additional firefighters this year, which we're very thankful for. And our goal with that is to use those 3 firefighters towards the staffing of a 5th ambulance at Station 3, which is on the west side of town. So we're really excited about that. So we're hoping to roll that out here. We've been doing it on an intermittent basis here and there when we can last year, and then we're hoping to start it up again by the end of this month and have it going. The second part of your question, I think, was...
what kinds of calls? And you kind of touched on it a little bit before with
a significant amount of EMS calls. I believe our numbers was approximately about 8,800 of our calls last year were EMS related. So that's, car accidents and unfortunately suicides and cardiacs and various other things. So those are just continuing to rise on a regular basis.
Okay. So in addition to those kinds of calls, I mean, everybody knows that firefighters put out fires and paramedics go and help people with medical issues, but what other kinds of important services does the fire department provide for the community?
Right. Besides those two, I think the next most important is fire prevention. And fire prevention, it covers a whole deal, a whole wide spectrum of things, from fire inspections of buildings to we have we have public education programs at all the schools. We have the safety house down in town of Beloit that we use, and I think you...
I do, yes. Yep, growing up here in this community, I remember that field trip when I was in 1st or 2nd grade.
Yeah, so from a prevention standpoint, one of the things we want to do is reach out to young people, because that's when they're most impressionable, and we want to teach them about fire safety, and we want to make sure they're safe wherever they are, whether they live in an apartment or a home or whatever it is. So we want to make sure our young people are knowledgeable on what to do and those type of things. The other thing that we do that's really critical is, from a prevention standpoint, is we do fire inspections on an annual basis of all buildings within the community, and it's roughly about 5,500 buildings we have to do a year. But then we also have to do the code process of enforcing fire codes for new construction, existing construction, remodels, those type of things. And and the one thing for the community to be aware of is because of the way the state is established, our codes are basically driven by the state. With, I believe, Act 10, we cannot be more restrictive than the state. So we follow the state codes and we enforce those type of codes. It takes a lot of work, a lot of staff time, a lot of hours to do that. But the things for people to remember is, those things are to make sure that if you're in a public building, you can safely exit the building. If you're at a facility in town having a party, is there enough exits? Can you get out of the building? Unfortunately, just as a few years ago, there's been tragic events in this community, or in this country. The Station nightclub fire about 10 years ago, 100 people died in a restaurant bar because of lack of exiting and various other stuff. So, from a prevention standpoint, fire prevention is critical, and we're doing that every day. And it takes a lot of work. Some people in the community don't necessarily care for it, but it is for the safety of them, their visitors, their family, people shopping in stores or eating at the restaurants. So those are some of the things we spend a lot of time on.
Okay. Well, switching gears a little bit. So the Janesville Fire Department recently dedicated its new central fire station. That was in 2016. So in that amount of time since then, what else has happened within the department?
Oh boy, I was making a list before I came here to try to think. Besides the great fire station, we got the central fire station. That has been great. One of the things when I came here too is we wanted to forecast for the future of the Janesville Fire Department. We wanted our vehicle maintenance program, we've revamped our whole vehicle maintenance program. We're trying to do that to save money. We're trying to make sure our vehicles meet the standards that are out there, so they're safe and they start and they run and they do all those things we needed to do. So vehicle maintenance, we've been working tremendously hard on that to get that where that needs to be. And then we also, our fleet, because of the way the community was for a few years, we didn't get vehicles. So again, thankful to the city manager's office and the city council for the last few years. They've given us, 3 new fire engines and 3 to 4 new ambulances. We have a really talented administrative staff that we're getting a lot of stuff on grants. We just received cardiac monitors with the capital improvement program for all our new ambulances. They had an end of life issue with our old ones, needed some new ones, but we've been doing grants. We've been doing joint purchasing with other communities. For our fire trucks, we did that with our fire trucks, we did that with our ambulances, and we did it with our cardiac monitors. When we enter into those type of agreements, it gives us the ability to have a little more leverage when we're dealing with the vendors. And so we negotiated some prices, we got some bulk purchases, plus it gave us the ability to also do state bidding. And so we've saved well over $100,000 in some of these ventures. The engine, the fire engine alone, we saved over $100,000 on that vehicle. So we've been trying to get our equipment to where it needs to be. We're trying to get it so it's up to date and we're not always having to repair it. We're also, from the standpoint of the department, we've changed our identity a little bit. You may have seen some stuff out in the public and the press. We've changed our image, we've changed our patches. I'm big into history and I'm big into, why do we do what we do? And we should all understand why we do what we do. And so we did that within the fire department and created a committee on our new patches, and I think they look very sharp. They have a great meaning to what we do as an organization. So we've changed our image, and that's been real successful. So want to hold on to the past. We don't want to hold on to the past. We want to recognize the past, but we also want to, as I call it, is progress. We don't want to be standing still. We want to always be moving forward. So there's a whole host of stuff we've been doing. We got some new bikes that we're going to use for special events for our paramedics. We're trying to make sure we have enough, safety whenever we have, large gatherings in town, and so we're very fortunate that most of our equipment for that, our UTV, our bikes, and various other stuff, some boats, have all come through on grants and cost the city little to no, if any, money. And so we're very proud of that, and we're going to continue to try to do those things.
That's great. Yeah. So you kind of talked about some of the joint purchasing and working with other departments. So obviously it's very important that fire departments and other emergency services departments have to work together to kind of get the job done. So JFD has a special relationship with the Milton Fire Department, among others. Can you talk a little bit more about those partnerships?
Yeah, well, one of the things we did with the Milton Fire Department, Milton Township Fire Department as it's called, is they approached me a couple years ago and asked for some help and some assistance, and because of the funding issues within the state, some of these smaller volunteer part-time departments are struggling. And we all do the same job, it's just some of us have a little more volume than others. So what we did is we worked together and we looked at the operations of the Milton Fire Department and the Janesville Fire Department, and we called it shared services or functional consolidation, however you want to place it. But we shared services, responses, training, various things like that. And then we've also, as of October of last year, we now have shared administration. The Milton Fire Chief retired, and so it sort of gave the perfect opportunity for us to move into the direction of creating a fire chief for both departments. So all the cities and towns involved agreed, and we drafted out an agreement, and so now I'm the chief of Janesville and Milton. And so what we've done operationally for that is Janesville Fire Department protects about 111 square miles, and Milton covers about 90. So it's roughly about 200 square miles we protect. And so what we've done is operationally, we've sort of combined both departments to cover that 200 square miles with 6 fire stations and all the people we have on duty. So it's a great benefit for the community. It's a great, our primary goal for this project was life safety of the citizens, to make sure they get the care they need or the help they need when they call, but also is making sure our people have enough staffing and equipment there so they're not putting themselves in jeopardy or getting injured. So it was completely life safety, and it's been working really well, and so we're pretty excited about it. The other part of your question, yeah, I think there's other areas that it might be financially and operationally more beneficial to go to some type of shared services or consolidation. It's a tough challenge because some communities want to maintain their own identity, which I completely get. But at some point you got to look at the service. Are we providing the service that's within reasonable response times, safely, effectively? I could see there's more potential down the road.
Okay, well, that's good to know. So being a paramedic and being a firefighter is obviously a very complicated job. There's a lot that goes into it. What kind of training do your personnel go through to kind of keep up on their skills?
Significant. We have a significant amount of, there's federal unfunded mandates from a training standpoint that the feds require certain things. There's state requirements that are, some are funded, some are not, and then locally. So from a paramedic standpoint, besides going through the paramedic program, which is an extensive and in-depth program on being a paramedic, then what they have to do is every month they have to do continuing ed. Whether it's attending classes, whether it's physically going to the hospital and doing some type of maneuver with a patient or a practice dummy, whatever it may be. But there is a significant amount of monthly CE or continuing education that they have to maintain. And then on the fire side, some is just as demanding. We have technical rescue, we have hazardous materials. We've just got into a new thing about a year ago. It's called TEMS, which is Tactical EMS. So we have trained paramedics tactically to work embedded into our SWAT team here in Janesville, which has been unfortunately used quite a bit. We've been using them on a fair amount. But that's a good thing that we have our people trained to be embedded into the SWAT team. We have rescue task force training, which also, hopefully we never have to experience it, but active shooter or mass shooting type of events, our people are trained how to handle those, how to move within those type of scenarios so they don't get hurt, but also we can effectively save as many people as possible. So we have those, we have hazmat, we have confined space, trench rescue, just plus our just basic officer, development program that we're trying to develop our young officers. We've had, in the last 6 or 7 years, we've had 80% of our officers have retired, and 40% of the department is retired. So we have a young department, which and from personal experience, but a great department, and we got, I think, a really good culture of what's going on and what we're trying to do. And not everybody may agree with it, but overall it's a really positive direction of what we're trying to accomplish.
So going into the future, what kind of big changes do you see on the horizon for JFD?
Some of the, I wouldn't say big, but there are some things we're going to have to address down the road is, staffing. Mm-hmm. The community's growing. As a fire chief and as the fire department and our fire prevention bureau, I completely support economic development within a community. But anytime a community grows, public safety has to grow. And sometimes people don't want to pay for police and firefighters. But yeah, staffing, there's we have an area down on the south end of town that we're trying to develop and trying to get a 7th fire station down there. We're still trying to do a shared station with Milton up on the north side, so that would be Station 6. But yeah, so growth and those type of things and staffing are some things. One thing nationally that we're really working on, and I'm really proud of our department and our Local 580, which is our union representation, and our department and our administration, is we've done this peer support program. Unfortunately, in the fire service nationally, there's great concerns with PTSD and suicide in the fire service. It's really it was never really tracked. Nobody paid attention to it. 34 years ago when I started, nobody trained us how to handle those type of things. But our department has stepped forward, and we've trained some people in peer support, so we've taken that step. We're working at the state level to try to get other options in play for PTSD and various other things. My goal is I want our people to be healthy and safe and happy, and when they go home, and same when they retire, when they leave. So to me, that's probably a big area we have to work on. The department, it's going in a great direction. We need to look at some more staffing. Operationally, we have a pretty good plan of what we want to do, but that dealing with our people and taking care of our people and making sure they're healthy and safe, that's something we really got to keep concentrating on.
Mm-hmm. So let's talk about fire safety. We're in the middle of summer, we've got Independence Day coming up, Labor Day activities. What advice can you give the public to make sure that they stay safe as well as keep others safe this summer?
Well, from the first standpoint, fire safety is always huge. Just please, make sure your home has smoke detectors and CO detectors that are working and have up-to-date batteries. Practice drills, even though it's summer and the kids at school, they're off, everybody's home, practice drills, fire drills, how to get out of the house, how to call 911, those type of things. But then it's other things just like, are you wearing your seatbelts when you're in your car and you're traveling and going on a trip? Make sure everybody has their seatbelts in. We have a car seat safety program. It was today, as a matter of fact, Station 5 every month. Make sure the car safety seats are in place and properly secured. Pool safety. Unfortunately, there's just a tragedy nationally about a young baby that drowned in a pool. Make sure your pools are secured. Make sure kids are not unattended. Just pool safety, being aware. Fireworks are dangerous. Fireworks, sparklers burn at 2,000 degrees. And so all I can say is with fireworks, please, I'd rather you leave them to the professionals. But I've seen some just horrific events and accidents with fireworks with young people to adults. So I'm not a big proponent of fireworks, but just be very cautious and safe with fireworks. The other thing too is kids riding bikes. I always want to make sure kids have helmets on and they're paying attention when they cross the streets. I just saw, coming here, I saw a young person riding a bike and on their cell phone. And you got to be careful and going into traffic and those type of things. So just, basic common sense stuff. Just be careful.
So, Chief, you've had a very long career in the fire service. If someone was interested in entering this career path, what would you tell them?
Oh, it's the best profession in the world, is what I tell people all the time. It's also a sickness. You love it or you hate it, and which is amazing to me. The fact that we get to help people every day and do what we do every day. So I could talk about it all day long. But anyway, what I tell young people is get into it. Start it. If you're wherever you live, get into your local. If there's a part-time fire department, volunteer fire department, get into it and see if you like it. Some people get into it and it's sometimes their eyes light up and this is what they want to do. And some get into it and it just wasn't meant for me, and that's all right. So get into it and see if it's something you're interested in, see if you like the work that's involved. If that's the case, then just start going to school at your local community or your vocational college. Start getting your fire classes completed, get your emergency medical technician, your EMT. If you're that still into it, do the paramedic, and it just builds. There's many options for you, but you got to get into it, see if you like it. And I'm a big person. The more education you have, the better. The more successful you are, and it opens your minds to new options. So that's what I tell them.
Okay. Well, we're just about out of time. So is there anything else that you feel like you'd like to share with our viewers?
Again, I just want to thank you and JATV for the opportunity to come here, and we're very proud of our department, and we really have a great interactive Facebook page that we want people to pay attention to. We try to feed them as much information about their fire department as we can. I'm very proud of the members of the Janesville Fire Department and the Milton Fire Department. What we're doing together, excuse me, what we're all doing together is really benefiting the community, and it's very exciting. It's a very exciting time for the fire department, so I could sit and talk to you about this all day. But I also welcome people, if you want to come and visit the fire station, you're always welcome to visit the fire station. You have any questions or comments or concerns or even complaints, don't hesitate to give me a call.
If you have questions for Chief Banker or for the Janesville Fire Department, they would be happy to hear from you. Refer to the contact information here, or you can always find it on our website. Thank you, Chief Banker, for joining us today, sharing information about the important work being done at the Janesville Fire Department. And thank you, viewers at home, for tuning in. On next month's episode of Park Place Views, we'll be talking to the Janesville Parks Director, Cullen Slapak. In addition to tuning in to this program on a monthly basis, stay connected to the City of Janesville by following us on Facebook or Twitter. You can also sign up to receive emails with our press releases and other important information. And you can subscribe to get emergency alerts from the Janesville Police Department on Nixle. For Park Place Views and the City of Janesville, I'm Molly Nolte. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next month.